Yes, you're here, and so am I. So why don't we go ahead and enjoy discussing an Ultraman Kaiju together, students? Sounds like a good idea to me. Today we're going to be discussing Red Killer from Return of Ultraman Episode 46, a boomerang-hurling space monster who, despite his name, doesn't actually look very red to me, just like how Red King, who we've already covered, is also not red. Why does Super Eye Productions like to say things are a certain color when they aren't? I don't know. But I do know some cool behind-the-scenes facts about Red Killer, so let's get this class underway by looking at them. This is Shigemitsu Taguchi, the writer of Red Killer's first episode, who, since he wrote his story, may have been the person who came up with Red Killer. Akihiko Iguchi designed the monster, and in the concept art you'll notice that the creature's hands were drawn without boomerangs on them at first, but then some pencil sketches on top show where they go, indicating the hand boomerangs may have been later additions. I believe his two hands were also supposed to be different sizes at the beginning. Something else the finished suit had that the artwork didn't were the button-like objects on the creature's stomach. The costume was constructed by one of the following individuals or groups, I believe. I couldn't determine which one. And the person who got to wear it was Takanobu Toya. As for the monster's roar, it's in the Red King family of cries. And getting back to his name, I unfortunately have no info on why he was named Red Killer, but it's probably because he wants to kill a red hero, namely Ultraman Jack. Or, as one person joked online, maybe he's named that because he killed all the red on his body. That's all the info I could find on the Kaiju's real-world history, so let's move into the in-universe history portion of the class now. One fine day, well, at least I assume it was a fine day, because everyone seems to have been really enjoying the stories this guy was telling. This man was a Kimishibai storyteller, and was entertaining these kids with a tale about a monster named Red Killer, and how the Matt team was fighting it. In the story, the Kaiju was able to slice their Matt arrow with his Razor Boomerang attack, but was then subsequently taken out by the team with a new piece of technology called the Super Cannon. Now you may all be saying, Professor, I know when you go in universe you usually cover fiction, but fiction within fiction? Isn't that going a little too far? And to that I say, no, you need to know this stuff. You'll see why in a minute. The man promised to describe the story of Red Killer's return next time, and the show ended. Somewhat later in the episode, a monster popped out from beneath a building in the middle of a city, a monster that looked exactly like the creature in the story, but with extra boomerangs. The kid Jiro immediately recognized the creature and rushed to inform Hideki Go of Matt of this monster attack, which didn't end up mattering because Go wasn't available at the moment for reasons we'll get into another time. Meanwhile, the monster began showing off just what he could do with his razor boomerangs. These weapons were so destructive they could easily chop buildings in half. If you slow this scene down, you could see how the special effects crew were able to achieve this effect. Matt got themselves into position to attack Red Killer very quickly, and the monster was soon being walloped by missiles fired by Kishida, and even got lit on fire several times. But despite this, the monster seemed unshaken and threw one of his boomerangs at Kishida's Matt arrow, slicing one of the wings off. Am I getting deja vu? Since these attacks weren't working, Matt decided to try a new piece of technology called the Super Cannon. Wait, now I'm really getting deja vu. I just said those exact same words a minute ago when describing that story. Sure enough, just like in the story, Matt hit the creature with the weapon and the monster was defeated. But now I should probably explain why the story was able to predict what would happen. Red Killer was actually under the control of the storyteller, who was secretly an alien Zool, who wanted to prevent humanity from relying on Ultraman Jack so he and his fellow alien Zool pal, and possibly more, could take over without the Ultra interfering. Their plan was a little convoluted, but basically they just wanted to make Matt look so good that Go wouldn't even bother becoming Ultraman Jack later on. I'm not sure why the storyteller bothered predicting what was going to happen in this little show, but I guess maybe he was rehearsing what he was going to have Red Killer do a little later. So, if this is all true, why did the alien let Matt destroy his monster? Well, he didn't. He just made it look like they did. Just a few moments later, the disguised alien had Red Killer emerge from the ground again. Somehow the Kaiju had escaped and gone down there, perhaps thanks to this machine. And now he had come back, much like what boomerangs do. The creature went right back to rampaging, and Matt prepared to use the super cannon again, which they did. But this time it didn't do anything except freeze the monster in place for a few seconds. Matt continued firing at the space monster to try and prevent it from reaching a nearby hospital, but Red Killer continued to advance mostly undisturbed. Soon he reached the hospital and whacked it, or a nearby building, I'm not sure, and the falling debris landed right on Go and the captain of Matt. Luckily, the hospital was made of styrofoam, so it didn't matter. Red Killer did a glitchy pose and then continued onward, or at least tried to, but some heavy fire from Matt temporarily prevented him from going anywhere this time. This was followed by another development which was also not good for the kaiju. Matt was able to locate his master alien Zool on the top of a building and take out the evil Seijin. However, this occurrence did provide Red Killer with an opportunity to take out Hideki Go, who was now right out in the open. He tossed one of his boomerangs right in the hero's direction, and it just barely missed him and hit a nearby building and blew it up. But since boomerangs come back, Red Killer could just try again, and this time Go sprung into the air and did this incredibly athletic flip to escape by the skin of his teeth once again. And another building got blown up, but they don't cost that much to rebuild, right? That was amazing, but moments later things got even crazier. As the boomerang shot back in Red Killer's direction and spun back over the building Go was on, suddenly the hero leapt up and took hold of the giant weapon, as it spun back toward the monster. I got Ultraman Taro vibes watching this. It seems Go did have a plan though. Somehow he didn't let go despite the spinning, and the giant boomerang brought him very close to Red Killer, at which point he transformed into Ultraman Jack, and since he was so close he was able to easily land a kick on the monster. He then followed with several more strong strikes, and began whamming the monster's head into the ground, and then threw the kaiju down, and then whacked Red Killer some more and knocked him into a building. Yet he still wasn't done. Red Killer had yet to really land an attack, and Jack was able to toss him with this move. So far, this was a totally lopsided battle in favor of Jack. Was he destined to get a perfect score on this monster fight? Well, no, because suddenly everything changed. Red Killer was able to toss Jack over his back, and finally managed to hurl his boomerangs in the Ultra's direction. Jack dodged the first one, but the second whacked him in the head, and since his monster opponent kept getting his weapons back, he was suddenly in a horrible situation. Man, that fell apart quickly. Some close-range blows from the beast and more boomerangs followed, and Jack's color timer started blinking. Could the Ultra get things back on track? Red Killer threw his razor boomerangs again, but this time Jack used his Ultra bracelet to create a whip, which he used to snag the boomerangs out of the air. He then took hold of the weapons and prepared to use them as swords. And... Pencil Leopard, would you come here?
Okay, what is it?
The way this fight ends will definitely scare Kishimu-kun, so would you take him out in the hall and color with him for a few minutes or something?
Oh, okay. Come, little kaiju. It's time for a coloring lesson with your favorite art-themed kaijin friend. Professor's orders.
In the middle of class? That's weird, but okay, I guess. I'm the kind of kaiju that colors between the lines after all.
Let's see how this fight came to an end. Jack leapt in the air with his new weapons and hit the kaiju in 2 spots, and then stood there before turning back to look at his opponent, who wasn't feeling so good. Really not good, in fact. Yep, I think I'm going to go ahead and call this fight for Jack. And that's how the boomerang monster went down. Next up, it's time to look at minor appearances. Other than Return of Ultraman, there's only one show that featured Red Killer, and he appeared in 7 episodes. Perhaps you've heard of this show. I recently started analyzing all the episodes in YouTube Shorts. Yep, Red Killer was unfortunately affected by the Curse of Redman, and appeared in the Redman series. Be sure to tune in to my YouTube Shorts series on this zero-budget show to see how the monster fares when we get to his episodes. Red Killer versus Redman. Maybe he's the perfect kaiju to finally take the menacing supposed hero out. Nah, probably not, but we'll see. In addition to having extremely few minor appearances, there are also extremely few toys of Red Killer, and all of them go for a ton of money. Unfortunately, I don't think the monster is popular enough right now to be released in a future wave of the Ultra Monster series or anything, but maybe if we raise awareness about him, that can change. I'll do my part to spread the word by adding him to my Forgotten Monsters Hall of Fame. That's a start. Thanks for tuning in today, everyone. Be sure to stay tuned for my big 25K subscriber special, in which I will reveal the Ultraman series I would create if I worked at Subaraya Productions. It will have a really cool partially 3D animated concept trailer, as well as art submitted by you, the viewers, so I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Also, Christmas is rapidly approaching, so if you're looking for a gift for a kaiju fan you know, be sure to check my eBay store where I sell hundreds of kaiju and other Toku figures, and my Teespring store where I sell official Toku Professor merchandise, because my guess is you'll find something they'd really like. There are links to both of those 2 stores, as well as my official X account in the description of this video, and most of my other videos too.
Hey, Professor, check out the comic store story Pencil Leopard and I drew up in the hall.
What kind of story?
This one. One day, a giant monster named Red Saurus, who was actually light green, attacked our school. His giant foot came slamming into our classroom, and then he used his mega fire breath to burn the whiteboard and the desks.
Oh, no.
Nobody could stop him, and he went over to the parking lot and absolutely destroyed all the cars, including even yours, Professor.
And then the beast was instantly destroyed, and everything went totally back to normal. The end. Whew. That was close.
Why did you do that?
Why did you mess up our story, Professor? You know it isn't real, right?
Well, it's not real yet, but you never know.